Hitler's bodyguards witnessed something terrifying in those final hours. They saw him completely unravel. One guard described a moment that still haunts historians today, something nobody expected. Another revealed a secret Hitler kept hidden until the very end. And the third confession, it changed everything we thought we knew about April 30th, 1945. But what they said about his final words, that's the part that'll shock you most. The bunker's last witness. Rochus Misch was Hitler's bodyguard for nearly 10 years straight. He stood outside Hitler's door every single day. In April 1945, Misch watched everything fall apart in that Berlin bunker. The walls shook constantly from Soviet bombs dropping overhead. Misch later said Hitler looked like a broken old man. His hands trembled uncontrollably. His left arm shook so badly he had to hold it down. The powerful dictator who once commanded millions couldn't even stand up straight anymore. Misch described Hitler's eyes as completely empty, like nobody was home inside. But here's what Misch never forgot. Hitler stayed strangely calm while everyone else panicked around him. Officers were screaming, crying, running through the bunker hallways. Yet Hitler just sat there, quiet, almost peaceful. Misch said that calmness was the most disturbing thing of all, because Hitler knew exactly what was coming next, and he'd already made his final decision. But what was that decision? The strange wedding. On April 29th, something bizarre happened in the bunker. Hitler decided to get married. His bride was Eva Braun, his longtime secret girlfriend. Misch stood guard outside during the entire ceremony. He said it lasted maybe 10 minutes total. No music played, no celebration happened. Just a quick legal ceremony in a concrete room underground. Misch remembered hearing Hitler's voice through the door. It sounded flat and emotionless, like he was reading from a shopping list. After the wedding, Hitler and Eva came out together. They shook hands with a few people. Then they went right back inside their private rooms. Misch thought Eva looked happy, though. She was smiling. She wore a black dress for her wedding day. Black, not white. Misch thought that was odd at the time. But the next day, he understood why she chose that color. Because Eva Braun knew something terrible was about to happen. The final meal. The next morning, April 30th, started quietly in the bunker. Misch was at his usual post, right outside Hitler's door. Around lunchtime, Hitler's cook prepared one final meal. Spaghetti with a simple tomato sauce. Nothing fancy or special. Hitler ate alone with Eva in their private room. Misch said he could hear them talking softly inside. Their voices were calm, not rushed or panicked, just normal conversation, like any regular couple having lunch together. After about 30 minutes, Hitler called for Misch. He opened the door and stepped into the hallway. Misch said Hitler looked directly at him, made eye contact. Then Hitler did something he'd never done before. He shook Misch's hand, firmly, and he thanked him for his years of loyal service. Misch felt confused. Why was Hitler saying goodbye like this? Then Hitler went back inside and closed the door. That handshake was the last time Misch ever saw Hitler alive. The gunshot. Misch stood in the hallway waiting. Minutes passed slowly. Everything felt wrong. The bunker was too quiet. Then, around 3:30 in the afternoon, Misch heard it. A single gunshot, muffled but unmistakable. It came from inside Hitler's room. Misch's heart dropped immediately. He knew exactly what that sound meant. Other guards came running down the hallway. Everyone froze outside the door. Nobody wanted to go inside. They all just stood there, waiting. After about 10 minutes, Hitler's personal servant went in first. He opened the door slowly, then he came back out. His face was completely white, pale as a ghost. He nodded to the others. "It's done," he whispered. Misch said that moment felt unreal, like time had stopped completely. The man who controlled millions of lives was gone, just like that. One gunshot. But what Misch saw when he finally entered that room, that image stayed burned in his mind forever.
Inside the death room. When Misch finally stepped inside, he saw both bodies. Hitler sat slumped on a small couch. Blood dripped down from his right temple. A pistol lay on the floor next to his foot. Eva Braun sat beside him. She looked almost peaceful. No blood on her at all. She had taken a cyanide capsule instead of using a gun. Misch said the room smelled terrible, like burnt almonds mixed with gunpowder. That smell stuck in his nose for days afterward. Hitler's eyes were still open, staring at nothing. Misch had to look away. Other officers came in and wrapped both bodies in blankets. They carried them outside into the bunker's courtyard garden. Misch followed them up the stairs. Outside, Soviet shells were still falling everywhere around them. The officers placed both bodies in a shallow ditch. Then they poured gasoline all over them. Someone struck a match. The flames shot up instantly, bright orange against the gray sky. The burning. Misch watched the fire burn for over an hour. Black smoke rose up into the air above Berlin. The smell was horrible, worse than anything he'd ever experienced before. Soviet troops were getting closer every single minute. Artillery fire shook the ground beneath their feet. But the officers kept feeding more gasoline onto the flames. They wanted to make sure nothing remained. No body, no evidence, nothing for the Soviets to find and parade around. Misch said several officers stood there saluting the burning bodies. Some were crying. Others just stared blankly at the fire. When the flames finally died down, barely anything was left. Just ashes and small bone fragments. The officers scooped everything into a shell crater. Then they covered it with dirt and rubble. Misch helped bury what remained of Adolf Hitler. His hand shook the entire time. That night, Misch tried to sleep but couldn't. He kept seeing those flames in his mind. The escape attempt. The next morning, May 1st, everyone in the bunker knew one thing. They had to get out immediately. Soviet soldiers were literally right outside now. You could hear their voices through the walls. Misch joined a group trying to escape through Berlin's subway tunnels. Dozens of people ran together through the darkness underground. Water dripped from the tunnel ceilings. The air was thick and hard to breathe. They could hear explosions echoing through the tunnels behind them. Some people gave up and turned back. Others kept running forward. Misch stayed with a small group of soldiers. They moved through the tunnels for hours. Finally, they climbed up to street level. But Soviet troops were everywhere. Tanks blocked every street. Soldiers pointed guns at them immediately. Misch raised his hands above his head. He was captured within minutes. The Soviets searched him roughly. They found his SS identification papers. One Soviet officer looked at the papers carefully. Then he looked at Misch. "You were in the bunker," he said in broken German. The interrogation. The Soviets knew exactly who Misch was. They took him to a special interrogation facility immediately. For weeks, they questioned him constantly, day after day, hour after hour. They wanted every single detail about Hitler's last days. What did he eat? What did he say? Who visited him? When exactly did he die? Misch told them everything he remembered. He had no reason to lie anymore. Hitler was gone. The war was over. Germany had lost. The Soviets didn't believe him at first, though. They thought Hitler might have escaped somehow, that maybe the burned body was a double. They questioned Misch for months, trying to find holes in his story. But his story never changed, because he was telling the truth. Misch spent nearly 9 years in Soviet prison camps. When he finally returned home in 1954, nobody wanted to hear his story. Germany wanted to forget everything about Hitler. But Misch never forgot. He carried those final images with him until he died in 2013 at age 96, the last living witness to Hitler's final moments. These eyewitness accounts from Hitler's final hours reveal the shocking truth. Rochus Misch's testimony about those last days remains the most detailed record we have. His memories of Hitler's final moments in that bunker changed history forever. The Bodyguards report of April 30th, 1945 still haunts researchers today. These witness statements prove that even the most powerful leaders eventually fall. And sometimes, their own guards tell the most honest stories.